Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Chris Hoff of the Radical Therapist Podcast and YouTube channel. And today we're going to be talking about the socially constructed genogram. And I know you're wondering what that is. I first discovered the socially constructed genogram in this great book, Innovations in Narrative Therapy by Jim Duvall and Laura Beres. And if you haven't picked up this book, I recommend it. The socially constructed genogram is something we're using a lot, and we train it at my clinic, California Family Institute in Costa Mesa, California. And both the clinicians and the people that seek our help have found it a very helpful practice. But before we get started talking about the socially constructed genogram, we should probably talk about the traditional genogram. And I don't know any psychology, social work, counseling, therapy student that hasn't been exposed to the genogram, the family genogram. And usually in their coursework, they have to take somewhere along the line a family consultation or a family therapy or systems theory class. And one of the traditional things that is taught in those classes is the traditional genogram. So what does the traditional genogram look like? Well, it looks like this. And the traditional genogram has been used for years to track representation of a family tree. It displays detailed data on relationships among individuals, hereditary patterns, and psychological factors that punctuate relationships. This is an example of a traditional genogram, and genograms represent a positivist view and can be described as locking people into a family not of their own choosing, or tracking pathology through generations. And you can see the squiggly lines and the X's, etc., etc. And it could be argued that it strengthens problems visually into relationships. And according to Duvall and Beres, the traditional genogram is a static device meant to diagnose and establish normative conclusions about people and their relationships. So what is the alternative? Well, the socially constructed genogram, what's so great about the socially constructed genogram is that using that coupled with remembering conversations is an alternative for understanding the multiplicity of identity, families, relationships, and culture. And with the socially constructed genogram, people can regain agency when determining who belongs in what Michael White calls their associations of life, or maybe the family of their own choosing, family of their own creativity, that kind of thing. So according to Duvall and Beres, when creating the socially constructed genogram with someone you are working with, people are invited to express their relationships on the socially constructed genogram as they actually experience them, and through remembering conversations, begin to explore the meaning of those relationships. And in this process, people are encouraged to expand beyond the normative view of relationships. And these things can include living people, living or dead people, pets, archetypal heroes, friends or family, cartoon characters, doesn't matter. All of it can be included in a socially constructed genogram. The socially constructed genogram understands that meaning and understanding are generated socially and in conversations with others, and it also takes into consideration power and broader, of course, social considerations, cultural considerations. And unlike the traditional genogram, which can perpetuate the problem story, the socially constructed genogram moves towards unpacking and exploring the meaning that can be found in the experiences between people. So what does a socially constructed genogram look like? Well, here's an example that we use. Actually, what we might do, print this out onto the full page. You can do it, you can handwrite it, but typically what we've been doing is using 5 concentric circles. And then we have whoever we might be working with using the socially constructed genogram, center them into the genogram, and then ask them to take a minute and reflect on relationships in their life. As they think about these relationships, imagine where they would place them on this map. The relationships that you would like to have closest to you, you can move them closest to you, or what you consider to be most significant, etc. And then maybe some relationships that you want to keep at a distance, or people that are at a distance that you might want to bring closer. You can put them on here. And it could include people you don't even know but might want to know better, or someone from afar. You can all it's all anybody you want to put on here, even rock stars, doesn't matter. So stuffed animals, doesn't matter, especially with kids, okay? And as each client places a name on the socially constructed genogram, it's possible to begin to discuss the nature and the quality of the relationship. So some sample questions that you might be able to use that I'll share with you are, so what is it about your relationship with whatever the person's name may be that made it possible for you two to be close? Great question. So what have you learned from this person that you carry with you today? Another great question. And if this person were here now, what do you suppose they would say that you have contributed to their life? And you can do this as you're kind of moving through the socially constructed genogram. So some great questions. So after completing the names, what do? Well, now that you have placed various people on your map and that reflects your association with them, is there one of the questions you might want to ask, is there any relationships that you might want to change in the future? If you could change them to suit the way you would ideally like them to be, and then you can have them talk about that on this thing. And another question that you might consider is it okay to start another map to represent your relationships with people in the future? So then you can have kind of a future genogram and maybe bring out a different set of circles and have them talk about relationships that they might want to move around in the future. So, and another question, where would it be useful to talk about the relationships you have with this person and the relationships that you would like to have with them? So another great question as you're going through the socially constructed genogram. So this has been an example of the socially constructed genogram. I do have a exercise that we use, so you can kind of practice with people in your team or what have you. I would be happy to send that to you. Just reach out to me and I will get that to you. I just think it's a great tool. It's worked really well for us. Our great practice, I'm going to say, that has worked really well for us at California Family Institute. And our clinicians, therapists, they love doing it, and it just really just kind of creates rich conversations with those they're working with. And sometimes with those they're working with in the beginning in their first meeting with, it just has been proven to be a really effective tool for us. So hopefully you find that helpful. The socially constructed genogram, maybe try to practice it. I can send you an exercise to get you to practice and those questions. Just reach out to me. I'd be happy to send that to you. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of this. And if you think this might be helpful, please share it with some other folks. So my name is Dr. Chris Hoff. This has been The Radical Therapist. Thanks for watching.